Now let's talk that other half of the second learning objective. We started with what organizations can do. Now let's talk what social media lets its users do that they may not have been as easily able to do or what was accessible to do prior to social media and other digital tools. So by users, we mean our customers, consumers, opinion leaders, and so on. Knowing what users can do or may want to do can let us better anticipate their actions. So I know we talked about this in the earlier sections, but again, what does social media and digital tools let us do that didn't used to be the case? So hopefully you had time to think about it, but in general, there's lots of new things that social media lets us do. The very purpose of the site. Think back. What is the nearest substitute pre-social media? Often very likely different. And especially, it's very interactive, which allows interactive marketing. So as an example, Pinterest. You can pin and thereby share with others what types of crafts you aim to do, or clothes you aim to buy, or what have you. Previously, you would not be able to display as such. I'm not sure how many people want to see your scrapbook of magazine clippings at the time. Now it's wonderful. Another, upload fan art for others to see and comment on. Perhaps even build your audience so you can earn more money doing art. DeviantArt and Instagram both make it easier to get fans and add even a call to action button that encourages customers to buy right there. So new ways to connect. You can think about our class right now, how we're all coming together from all sorts of places and all sorts of schedules. You need only connect through the internet. You don't have to be geographically nearby. Although, of course, again, some sites work on this. And you don't even have to be there at the same time. There are archives. Content can remain up for a long time, long after the communications have happened. So, for example, at your high school or hometown, you may be one of the few persons that likes a certain breed of dog or a certain book. Over the course of the day, it's likely difficult to bring it up in conversation. With the internet, it's easier than ever to go find some Airedale Terrier fanciers or to discuss the British royal family. Another example, Kickstarter applicants want to find their market, and the internet lets them easily find them across time and space. We talked about this with Mark Hamill, the speed at which we share things. Just click. Now it's out there and searchable by search engines. Now a matter of a person's... Basically, you don't have to have a person scrolling through all the mountains of content. It's what the person wants to do, and often tools are there to help. How widely we can share things. Mark Hamill here again. Anyone with access to the internet can more easily access others with internet connections. Search engines help us sort through clutter. New sites help to organize content and material. So, for example, hashtags let us sort by idea and event and across platforms. And in general, just again, that new way to communicate, that interactive, so you can have that one-to-one communication and you don't even have to be there at the same time. You can be effectively instantaneous depending on the tool used. It's easier than ever for more people to have one-to-many. As noted, more people have more access to large audiences. You're no longer limited to going to a radio or TV station or just hoping to yell it at town square. Many-to-many communication. These handle things so well in terms of different types of participatory projects, open source and all that. Social media can handle multiple conversations and multiple conversants. And again, they don't always have to all be there at the same time or the same physical space. So in sum, lots of things that social media lets us do that it's easy to take for granted now that's been around for a bit. And so here's a chart about, again, all those actions users can do and do take. And here's, a little bit of fun, how social media sites can let people communicate and express themselves in different ways via cats. So a major new aspect of social media is the way it gives anyone with an internet connection more routes to audiences than when only traditional channels are available. So this is an example of United breaks guitars. So before United Airlines was on the news for having a paying passenger dragged off their plane, they were the target of a parody song. Here's an example of a customer who, after a long string of conversations with United Airlines, decided to respond through song when they would not compensate him for his broken guitar. Also, note, I have no idea what's going on with the backup singers. I don't usually listen, but in sum, social media gives customers easier access to many other people. This can be a very bad thing for you if the message they want to send is about how poorly you treated them as the customer. So this talk by Dao Nguyen discusses how things go viral in terms of what the content does for a user. Next, this one discusses the pass-along potential of content. So not only what's consumed, but what they want, or rather when they want to share and recommend to others. So for example, relational utility. How useful is it? Is this worth sharing to my friends? Will they think better of me? Does it have instrumental value? Likability. Is it fun, engaging, novel, cute? So again, overlaps with the last one with, what helps me and makes me laugh. So this one is by Kevin Aloka. It's TED Talk. Look to how videos go viral. Samples are a bit on the older side, but delightful. And so if you want, the direct TED link in the notes also has lots of translations and transcripts. So you'll notice how a large part of what makes something go viral for both of these is that it's not a top-down process, but rather something that makes it resonate, perhaps through surprise or humor, and it's easier for a larger group of people to participate, to get involved. And this might seem familiar because this was a major reason why those Old Spice commercials, the man your man can smell like, did so well back in the day. So, ideas are often used, built up, and shared by many actors. So what goes viral requires all of us. And this isn't exactly new. After all, we have lots of examples pre-internet, such as when McDonald's was also called Mickey D's, or even very aggressive, such as mocking names for car brands. So Ford Exploder for the Ford Explorer, or Ford stands for Found Off-Road Dead. But the internet and computers make it easier to make and spread these now. So hashtags, a pound symbol with that set of letters, numbers, or words that acts like a searchable link. You click on it and it'll show you everyone else who tagged their post with the same hashtag. People can tag their posts to make it easier for people to find their posts and likewise to contribute to a larger conversation. So it tends to capture a set of events, ideas, and emotions all in one point. So some very topic related. So hashtag Olympics 2020 was originally likely for the Summer Olympics. And hashtag Pray for Mexico in the aftermath of the earthquake in September 2017. Others show emotions. So hashtag Let's Go Dodgers and hashtag I Bleed Blue were popular during the World Series for Dodgers fans. The Astros and Red Sox had their own hashtags to support. Marketers may further tweet to hashtags or try to encourage the use of hashtags as part of their campaigns. Hashtag MyDunkin' was by Dunkin' Donuts here, to encourage people to post their pictures and stories to social media. You can imagine this encourages deepened commitment by those who participate and leads to UGC that resonates better with Dunkin' Donuts audiences. Memes in general are very memorable ideas that are easy to make minor changes but still resonate with people. So effectively, family or workplace in-jokes are examples of in-group memes. So if you'll remember, certain content is more likely to be passed on than others. Memes are more likely to be passed on because they're easy for the user to consume and attractive to send to others. So if you want, there's a whole huge list on a page called, or website rather, called Know Your Meme with different ones you might recognize. Here's an example of how marketers can use an existing meme. This was based on a trending joke where you have two pictures side by side and You versus the guy she told you not to worry about, which originally showed two guys from the love triangle in The Office, but took off to usually have a sad picture to the left and a more desirable option on the right. In this case, Jimmy John's restaurant got in on it. Gotta be careful though, since sometimes people may not appreciate marketer intrusion if they miss the joke. So the Steve Buscemi 30 Rock clip had him, a rather middle-aged looking person with a backwards cap, skateboard, and saying, "How do you do, fellow kids?" as a way to show that his attempts to blend in with teenagers is laughably ineffective. This clip went viral and mimetic, inspired more people to show it whenever an outsider, usually older or corporate, tried to get in with a usually younger, cooler group. This image shows the meme coming full circle in a way where Bagel Bites marketers give us a winking nod that, yeah, they're a bit out of their league, as a way to acknowledge they recognize the culture that's important to parts of their target market. So in sum, just examples of ways online and digital tools make it easier than ever to make meaningful stories or ideas and pass it along. I have more examples in the notes for different meme and hashtag examples and general guidance, and usually they all boil down to know your audience. Speaking of hashtags, here's one source that tracks hashtags by map. There's plenty more aggregators, or you can go directly to the site to see what's trending. So just an example that there's lots of stuff out there. So why do we care about these empowered consumers? Well, word of mouth. Customers use word of mouth to talk about dozens of brands daily, from media and entertainment products such as movies, TV shows, publications, to food products, travel service, retail stores, and of course, organizational customers chat all the time. You yourselves likely like to talk shop, proverbially, and chat about your organization. So what are the newest trends or ideas? What is a core issue facing the department or a particular customer maybe? As Kevin Aloka explained in his TED Talk in the last slide, all it may take is one tastemaker to make the content break through. So consider what you yourself talk about day to day. That is, you do have to be careful though. Negative PR can also be memorable. So what's memorable or interesting to pass along may be negative. So consider all the in-jokes at the expense of a company when they make a terrible ad. Consider when someone with a following has a bad experience, whether a traditional celebrity or perhaps someone who happens to be a local opinion leader. A vlogger I listened to had a friend who had a poor experience with Air Canada. Therefore, not only did the vlogger share what happened to his friend, but for a couple weeks after, he would end each segment with "Air Canada sucks" alongside his usual send-off. So in sum, remember, social media ties into our promotional concerns. We wish to communicate and have others communicate what we want them to. And so hopefully these three people are not our usual small time opinion leaders, but what they instead do is give us a nice segue into this. Social media makes it simpler for different people to gain larger followings and cultivate relationships. So these people may become opinion leaders and thus are very important for the marketer to understand. It's what we sometimes call the megaphone effect, where online tools like social media sites allow even ordinary people to gain larger audiences without the need of traditional channels. How so? It can be as simple as the authors who post a review video or a webcomic responding to likes or answering questions. It can also be perhaps a person who regularly comments in the forums that other users have come to trust. These tools have led to the growth of influencer marketing, which is the identification and recruitment of those with personal influence to help market your brand, and it's typically alongside their own brand. So they produce content and engage with their followers. So all of these three folks are examples of potential influencers as well. What are some more examples? Well, Joe Rogan became a major opinion leader on all sorts of subjects through his podcast. Fashion bloggers post pictures, reviews, and their consumption that other viewers cannot look And let's see. There are bloggers that, for example, make modifications to regular size clothes for petite size figures. Tons of folks that review shoes, tech devices, all sorts of things, unboxing. Michelle Phan, a demonstrator for makeup on YouTube, got her own fashion, or rather cosmetics lines. This is Emily Schumann of Cupcakes and Cashmere, started as a fashion and lifestyle blog and onto books and partnerships with other firms like Coach, Forever 21, Estee Lauder. As noted in your book, we often trust opinion leaders more than firm-derived sources. Firms reach out to these influencers in lots of ways. This may include giving them money, information, free samples, and services. However, these opinion leaders must also be wary of ensuring that they do not undermine their relationship with their own following. You need to make sure you have a win-win proposal if you ask these opinion leaders to work with you. So as an activity, what types of opinion leaders do you follow that rely on these less traditional channels? Perhaps a friend or someone that your friend follows on Facebook who tends to post interesting news links on their newsfeed? Perhaps a movie reviewer from Rotten Tomatoes that's not in your home paper, but easy to access via a different site. Perhaps a video game Let's Player like Markiplier or a specialist group like the Extra Credits team, where you find interesting video games to play. In sum, social media has given marketers new opportunities to reach out and identify opinion leaders, just as how social media has also allowed these opinion leaders to gain their following. So, something that overlaps for both of us, marketers and customers alike, are that social media is fast and flexible. A few Super Bowls ago, the lights went out during the game. Within minutes, Oreo had made copy, approved it, and tweeted it. It was very well received, and the good publicity continued long after the game was done. The blackout, in fact, lasted only 34 minutes. Not that it helped the team, but anyway. And so if you want, there's also an even update that talks about its impact on marketing. Here's an example, though, where speed and access can be your enemy. Just as we are warned to be careful about what we post on our personal sites, so too must firms. Plenty of examples where posts can be seen as tacky at best. So in 2011, for example, Kenneth Cole wrote a post that included hashtag Cairo. At the time, there was a popular uprising in Egypt where tens of thousands of protesters were calling for Egyptian President Mubarak to step down. Well, Mubarak did not want to step down, instead brought in security forces. Many people, a lot of protesters especially, were killed. Mubarak eventually did step down, and in the midst of this, Kenneth Cole account posted millions in an uproar in hashtag Cairo. Rumor is they heard our new spring collection is now available online. So that hashtag was probably one of many that concerned people were using to get information about what was going on. So they likely were not expecting a commercial message. Kenneth Cole eventually retracted the statement. And it still happens, though. Kansas City Chiefs got in a spot of trouble in 2017 for a post that relayed their kickoff win and the 2017 Mexico City earthquake. In 2018, Elon Musk was part of a federal fraud investigation because he posted to his verified account that Tesla would go private, or, as he said, could go private, causing extensive stockholder activity. It may not be the Tesla account, but Elon Musk was still seen as representing the company. So remember, watch what you say. You represent companies and you represent your own personal brand. And so, just to reinforce, we see two-way and multi-way interactions quite often between brand and customer. And you don't want to just think of social media as a free place for ads and your press releases. You'll want to make use of its ability to be interactive as a touch point. And so this one is a good classic. Taco Bell answered a fan who joked he'd love a Taco Bell Speedo and that they'll get it to him. Very small cost for lots of good press. Wendy's gave a person a year's supply of chicken nuggets for his valiant attempt at getting a record number of retweets. And even if you don't want to be interactive, users will. For example, you'll see on social media, users will use the space to ask questions, complain, and share their love or hate for the brand. So JetBlue's example, they started it, but now it's more the norm. And notice how there's lots of ways to connect across accounts and platforms, such as by directly posting, sharing a post, such as retweeting, using hashtags, and using mentions. So lots more examples I encourage you to dig into. And so another big thing is that it's more common for person and firm alike to be in the same conversation. Firms often hold conversations among themselves, and we effectively see a form of dynamic content marketing where brands build on each other's jokes in hopes they'll be shared. Notice how Doritos and Kia respond in ways that fit their brand. It makes more sense for Doritos to be talking about anger-based hunger, or hunger causing the typos. Meanwhile, it's more in line for Kia car to be talking about a designated driver. Later on, JCPenney's revealed the punchline to their joke, and again, related to their business. In sum, social media supports conversations of all sorts. Advertisers now use these and can use these just as well to give character to their brands. And you can interact with and connect with your customer in new ways. Actually, now that I think about it, I should include the Gail Simone and Gritty examples in the notes too. So there's a ton of information out there. Make sure, like any plan, you have an idea of who will monitor and manage your social media presence, who's responsible for responding, creating content, and affirming. When? What will be the timing of your different communications? What indicators? Are there particular days or events or times? How fast should turnaround be? And finally, why? What outcomes do you want to see? And how will we know it's working? What indicators will we monitor? So these different articles talk about, for example, this one especially talks about who monitors airline Twitter accounts on behalf of the airlines. Opportunities abound for someone to proactively respond to good things and bad things alike. The next article talks about how you can time your social media content. A lot of this will depend on the type of presence you want to have. And so one of the big things is don't go overboard where you try to make a lot and then you fall off the schedule. Finally, these two are just two of hundreds of posts out there that share different metrics you might want to track. So YouTube, number of subscribers, traffic source, length of time watching, etc. Instagram, look for top posts, top follower, types of engagement like likes, mentions, or replies per impressions. Discuss, power discussion boards, number of votes, how often users are clicking on ads or viewing below the fold. The list goes on. And so these multi-way conversations do mean you're vulnerable to whatever people want to talk about. And hiding and deleting things after the fact isn't going to work usually. So, for example, Sesame Street asked, which Sesame Street friend would you want with you on a deserted island? So here it is. And responses range from dismissive to humorous to actual long, honest debates. Many people drew value from those conversations, whatever their motives, but to what end for you, since some of them did joke about which one would be delicious. So it's helpful to have procedures in place for unexpected opportunities or threats. Since social media tools are especially sensitive to timing. So, for example, this article by AMA talks about a potent form of threat, social media firestorms, that can take place when people are negatively responding to your brand and your team's actions. This one talks about this one right here. The USATA coverage is an example of how two organizations that aren't direct competitors, since Chicago Bears team and Butterfinger, but more along the lines of two separate. Okay, so effectively, what I'm trying to say is effectively, you of course have organizations head to head, Wendy's versus McDonald's. But in this case, you can have competition for viewership between two brands that aren't directly competing with each other. So in this case, the Butterfinger and Chicago Bears brands. And so linked with this is also, what's your plan for doppelgangers? So doppelganger in this sense is your evil twin. Basically, it's super easy for there to be communication or things out there that people think is from you, but is not from you. So editing and photoshopping tools effectively have made this very easy, and it's easy for stories to get changed each time they're told, so the quote games of telephone. On top of that, people don't verify things. They'll just trust what feels right. So as an example, Butterfinger did not actually post this. Jab at Tom Brady here, who had dropped the ball. It's of course the play on words that Butterfinger is both a candy bar and an idiom for someone who drops things like very important passes. It resonated with a lot of people. However, they soon saw it wasn't on the Butterfinger account and were miffed that it seemed like Butterfinger had deleted the post. I know when I first saw it, I thought Butterfinger was one of the many brands that was simply trying to be a snarkier voice like Wendy's, and hadn't initially questioned it. Butterfinger now has to figure out a way to respond to this because people are like, what? Don't lie. In sum, so again, remember those touch points. You have real ones that you can control or know about. However, there are plenty of things that people will treat as a touch point to you. You'll want to have plans for responding to issues like these. So with that, next section, we're going to wrap up with the third objective about talking about the new media landscape that social media and the digital tools are a part of. But with that, if you have any questions, you know where to find me, llouis@laverne.edu. And hope you're having a good day or evening so far. And whatever your ideas, run with them, take them, see where they lead you, and have fun.